Ooh, what's up, everybody? My name is OMG WTF LOLFTW BRB. Welcome back to more WWE versus TEW, the weekly series where we take the events and shows that the WWE runs, book them in the game, and see just how well the WWE does against TEW, or if Total Extreme Wrestling will be the company to bring the WWE down to its knees. Today we are booking the July 17th edition of Smackdown, the first Smackdown after the... crap, what was the name of the pay-per-view? I think it was Extreme Rules we were just at? Was it Extreme Rules? Yeah, Extreme Rules. And, I'm sorry to admit it, but it happened, guys. It happened. We are a week behind officially. I am recording this on a Wednesday. I was about to say on the Tuesday that SmackDown was recorded, but no, this is a Wednesday, and we're a week behind, and we'll probably be a little behind for the foreseeable future until I can catch myself up. Hopefully it won't take too long, 205 Live's only like an hour long. I can get out Raw, so we shouldn't be too far behind, but we are a little behind here. This is last week's SmackDown, so the main event was the United States Championship match between Jeff Hardy and Shinsuke Nakamura. So, you know what? Let's just stop wasting some time and jump right into this. I do have a little bit of a confession to make to you guys, though. While SmackDown, while I was watching SmackDown, I really wouldn't use the word watching, though, because I really wasn't watching SmackDown. Like, yeah, SmackDown was just kind of playing in the background, and I was paying attention enough to where I knew when a match was going on and when it ended and what was happening pretty much. But I'm not going to be able to give you guys more of an in-depth analysis, per se, on a match or anything. So my apologies in advance for that, but I was playing this game on my phone I just downloaded. In fact, I highly recommend some of you guys download it. It's called, let me pull it up real quick. 80s Mania Wrestling Returns. It's like Total Extreme Wrestling, kind of, sort of. You get like these cards that you can, buy, but you get like cards in the beginning, and you book this company pretty much by using these cards, and you just, build up your company and buy new cards and go from there. It's kind of like a little bit of a parody on the, the 80s. Like, there's a wrestler I have named Pelvis Presley, or Zen, who's like a Legend of Zelda character. I just got this one guy named Average Guy, who's pretty much a parody on Dusty Rhodes. I recommend checking it out. It's a good game. Nonetheless, going on a little bit of a tangent there. We open up the night with a 67C+ as we get a recap of the United States Championship match at Extreme Rules, when Nakamura kind of cheated his way into becoming the United States champion by using the I guess early distractions with the championship introductions and all that to his advantage by landing the low blow on Jeff, and then of course leading to Randy Orton's shocking return to where he also kicked Jeff in the dick. No. 67C+ as Jeff Hardy opens up the show. He expresses, how he wants to pretty much get his United States Championship, how his heart is broken or something, and, how he feels broken. He opens his eyes. Like I said, it's been a while, so even though I tried to help myself out here with, like, some of these descriptions, it's not the best descriptions. Nonetheless, Jeff Hardy feels like he is broken without the United States Championship, and he promises to get the championship back tonight. So, gaining some heat for the feud going into the match later on. 71B- as Renee Young gets Shinsuke Nakamura's response pretty much to what Jeff Hardy just said. And he talks about how Jeff Hardy's pretty much crying and how he's a clown. And he's going to make everybody smile tonight by making the clown cry. And then the best part of this promo is right at the end when Nakamura just smiles at Renee and goes, "God bless the USA." Oh, Nakamura is so great. Like, my God, what a guy. He's such a great heel. He just gets it with those little subtle mannerisms here and there. Like, he didn't have to say "God bless USA." I guarantee it wasn't in the script, but man, am I happy he did. Or Or that one part in the early promos when he first turned heel and he goes, "Oh, sorry, I don't speak English." Nakamura just gets it. He's great. I'm loving him as a heel. Gain some more heat for the feud. 53 C- as we get a little bit of hype of what else is to come here tonight in SmackDown. The Miz will be hosting a eulogy for Team Hell No after Kane apparently was taken out with a broken ankle, courtesy of the Bludgeon Brothers at Extreme Rules. 100 A-star for the early, still but long and pointless commercial break. Big Break John kicking Jericho and kicking Jericho and Rey Mysterio out. I guess they kind of, threw off his groove, You don't want to throw off the Emperor's groove, so John Cena going it at alone and pulling out a 100 A-star, as he's known to do. What do we got next? Opening match of the night, 73 B- WWE Champion AJ Styles is in action, as he will be taking on Andrade Cien Almas in a match that apparently has never happened before. I didn't do any research, but I'm going to take WWE's word on this because they've been pretty honest lately about that stuff. Like, they'll mention things like this has never happened on WWE TV before, and stuff like that. But they said that this is a first-time matchup ever, so there you have that. I guess this is because AJ and Selena Vega had a little bit of an interaction here. They kind of tease that Andrade, if he wins, he could be the man to face AJ at SummerSlam, because right now, I guess, Paige is out looking for who's going to be the next person to face AJ for the WWE Championship. I guess Rusev's not getting his rematch. Nonetheless, and about that had good wrestling and a decent reaction from the crowd. AJ Styles goes over Andrade Cien Almas in 9 minutes 44 seconds with the calf crusher submission, making him tap out, handing Andrade his first loss, but Andrade still looking good in the process here, not only in real life but in this game, because he's a lower mid-carder right now in Total Extreme Wrestling, and because he just had a 73 B-, no pun here. I'm glad I caught myself before I went on and said it, but no pun intended. A phenomenal matchup here with AJ Styles. In the terms of a lower mid-carder, it's definitely going to boost him up to at least mid-card status. He's going to get a good popularity boost here, as he would in real life when you think about that. He has a good performance against the WWE Champion. He's been looking good as recently, so that's going to elevate him just even more to maybe challenge for the WWE Championship, or maybe challenge for the United States Championship, even though Nakamura's holding it right now. Nonetheless, I'm curious to see where they take Andrade in the future right now, because he's one of those guys I feel like kind of needs a championship. Kevin Owens is kind of like one of those guys where it just kind of feels like, well, what is he doing when he doesn't have a championship? Like, he's the prize fighter, Andrade feels like one of those guys to me, like, at least right now. Like, what else is he trying to do on SmackDown? Like, he doesn't have much of a beef with anything. Him and Selena Vega have made it pretty obvious that they want championship gold. Andrade doesn't have a tag team partner. Shinsuke's a heel, so you're not going to have Andrade take on Shinsuke, even though that would probably be a great match in its own. So, of course, Andrade's next step would be the WWE Championship. I don't think he's going to get a shot here, but like I said, I'm curious to see where they take him, because are they going to give him just kind of like a random feud with some random person? Or are they actually going to try to build him up and invest in a feud? Because that's the kind of problem nowadays with WWE and their feuds, is there's no real backstory to them. If you look back to the Attitude Era, even like the early 2000s and beyond, maybe even the John Cena era, the feuds that weren't for championships usually had something for them to be feuding about, even though some of them were stupid. I mean, everyone likes to bring up the Jericho Kane coffee storyline and stupid stuff like that. Moppy with Raven and Perry Saturn. Of course, there's your stupid storylines, but that was one of the best things that Vince Russo did back in the day. And there's probably other storyline writers that did this as well, but Vince Russo, I've heard him talk about it a lot of times, where they try to make sure, everybody has something to do, and a reason to do something. And you get your campy storylines here and there, but there's a reason for them to feud. I mean, maybe you compare Andrade and Shelton together. They kind of got similar gimmicks. Maybe have them feud and have one turn. The only other person I can see Andrade maybe feuding with is Ty Dillinger, though, and I don't really think Ty is a good pick. I'm going to apologize, though. I've gone off on a huge tangent here on just, I guess the inner bookings of WWE, in my opinion. I just don't feel like their feuds have much context to them. I mean, look at Sami Zayn and Bobby Lashley. They feuded over what exactly? I don't know. I can't even tell you what they feuded over. It was just mostly happening to happen. Kevin Owens and Braun Strowman. What were they feuding over? Well, WWE would like you to believe it's because Kevin kept running from Braun. Well, why the hell was Kevin running from Braun? Like I don't know. It's weird stuff. It's not much context to them. It's like if there's not a championship on the line, they're fighting to fight. Again, went on a whole tangent there for no reason, but that's what you get sometimes. Andrade, Selena, we already know about their pairing. Crowd was hot for this match. Deserved better announcing. AJ Styles with a freaking in-ring performance of an 83. Good God almighty. Andrade Cien almost with a 54, so he's moving up in the world as well. No worker improvements, though. That's a shame. 54, C- as we see Aiden English walking backstage. He's clearly distraught as he begins to apologize to someone off screen. We're led to believe it's Rusev, but it turns out to be Lana. Lana's not sure why Aiden's apologizing to her when he should be apologizing to Rusev. And I forget exactly what Aiden's excuse was as to why he was apologizing to Lana instead of Rusev. But nonetheless, Aiden, he's pretty much just asking for a second chance. Lana says she'll consider it, and that's that. It starts a new storyline here, the end of Rusev Day with a question mark. Could this be the end of everyone's favorite up-and-coming tag team? Even though I never really considered them much of a tag team, but I guess they kind of are. We then move into our next matchup here. 42, solid D rating here as Becky Lynch continues her, I guess, domination over the SmackDown's women division. We've seen her defeat both members of the Iconics, Sonya Deville, and now Mandy Rose. Mandy Rose and Becky had a match a little whiles back where Mandy beat her, so I guess Becky getting her win back here. Didn't have much weigh in heat. Terrible wrestling to it. Becky Lynch goes over Mandy Rose in 4 minutes, 23 seconds with the disarm her. Sonya Deville doing some good work ringside. In fact, Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville have excellent chemistry together. I'm not sure if we knew that. Color commentary helped us out. Becky Lynch with an in-ring performance of a 41. Mandy Rose with a 33. And no worker improvements to comment on. We then go to a 39 D-. It's after the match. Becky Lynch grabs the mic. She expresses how she loves to win. She loves the feeling of it. And she pretty much sends a message to Carmella. I don't know why I said her name like that. Sends a message to Carmella, calling her out pretty much, saying, it's time for Becky Balboa to step back up and take what's hers pretty much. And she's talking about the SmackDown Women's Championship. That does go ahead and start the feud between Carmella and Becky Lynch. And then immediately after that, we see Paige backstage. She's smiling, doing her thing when Carmella comes in, and they talk back and forth. Kind of some campy acting here, especially on Carmella's part. Paige mentioned something about James Ellsworth being like her boyfriend, but Carmella wasn't having any of that. Nonetheless, Paige expresses that next week Carmella will face Becky Lynch. Carmella's all like, I'm not defending my championship against her, though. And Paige was like, oh, no, of course not. You're not defending the championship. But if Becky does beat you next week, she'll get her championship match at SummerSlam. And there you have it. So Carmella and Becky Lynch will face next week with championship inclinations on the line. I don't want to be rude. I'm not trying to be rude to anybody or, comment on anything because it's more of a curiosity thing. But does Paige look like she's gaining weight? Does anybody notice that? Like, I feel like I'm kind of an asshole for pointing it out if she is, but I was looking at her and she looks like she's gained a little bit of weight in her face, but like none in her body. So I'm just like, what's going on here? Does anybody else notice that? Again, I'm sorry if it makes me kind of sound like an asshole, but I just couldn't help but notice. Like as I was sitting there watching her, I was like, what's going on here? Maybe it's because I see this picture all the time and she doesn't look that big, or I think back to when she was first debuted or something, but she looks like she gained a little bit of weight. Not trying to be a dickhead. I'm just, I'm just curious if anybody else has noticed it. This did go ahead and gain some heat for the feud, so good stuff for Carmella and Becky Lynch there. 41 solid D rating as we see Ty Dillinger. I guess he's getting ready for an upcoming match when R-Truth walks in, and I guess he's trying to psych Dillinger up, but Dillinger's not buying it. He leaves. And Truth apparently was not even trying to psych Dillinger up the entire time. He was talking to his mama on the telephone with some little earpiece in. And Ty's getting ready for a match against Joe. And R-Truth kind of shouts at him, he pretty much says, "Hey, you just don't go fight Joe." Like that's his advice, but Ty's already gone before he can hear him. So apparently this stems from something that happened last week. I don't recall Ty Dillinger having an interaction with Samoa Joe last week. In fact, I don't believe Joe was on Smackdown. And that's because apparently it happened off air. I don't know if it's a little pre-show thing or whatnot, but it did happen off air. Apparently they were supposed to be Ty versus Joe last week, but during Ty's entrance, Joe attacked him from behind, and there you have that. 61 solid C rating. As we then jump into the match that I guess we were supposed to have, but never happened. 57 C- rating here in an extremely short matchup. Samoa Joe goes over Ty Dillinger in 3 minutes 28 seconds with the Coquina Clutch. Ty had an in-ring performance of a 38. Samoa Joe with a 67, looking dominant here tonight. Joe is improving in performance as well. And then we jump into a 57 C- rating afterwards, as Nakamura and Jeff Hardy's United States Championship match is hyped alongside the Team Hell No Eulogy, which will be hosted by The Miz, and which is next. Alright, Team Hell No's Eulogy. The Miz comes out uninterrupted or anything. He just starts cutting his promo on how he told everybody that Team Hell No wasn't going to last, how it was a combustible element, how, Daniel Bryan's new return has been a complete and total bust. He tries to get the crowd quiet out of respect for Team Hell No's Eulogy. They don't have any of it. He does the whole classic, when this hand goes up, your mouth goes shut, or something like that. They do the yes chants, which Miz admittedly, says that, might have been a little bit more appropriate. Like I mentioned before, he brings up that Daniel Bryan's, return has been a complete and totally utter bust. This leads to Daniel Bryan's music hitting. He comes out. Him and Miz brawl for a bit, and that is that. So this angle got the crowd hotter, and it officially starts the Daniel Bryan-Miz storyline, which we'll probably see these two go at it at SummerSlam. 67 C+ rating, as once again, Nakamura versus Jeff Hardy's United States Championship bout, hyped. We then go to a 62 solid C rating, as Xavier Woods and Big E are psyching Kofi Kingston up for his upcoming match against Eric Young. Kofi kind of looks like he's beating himself up. Apparently, I guess he took a lot of, or he's taking a lot of the heat for that loss on Extreme Rules' pre-show, but nonetheless, Xavier Woods and Big E hyping their buddy up for the upcoming match against the leader of Sanity. 62 solid C. 51 D+, as we get a recap of Sanity's win over the New Day at Extreme Rules when Eric Young put Kofi Kingston through the table. And then we go into a 62 solid C rating here. Decent matchup here. Eric Young goes over Kofi Kingston in 9 minutes 56 seconds with the pile driver. I think he hit the wheelbarrow neck breaker. I don't believe he hit a pile driver. I believe that's actually a banned maneuver. So, nonetheless, following interference from Killian Dane, lots of interference in this matchup. Xavier Woods, Big E providing distractions for Eric Young. Kofi Kingston being distracted by Alexander Wolf and Killian Dane in there. And, of course, the match ends when there's a whole little brawl. Big E's brawling with Alexander Wolf. Killian Dane and Xavier Woods are brawling, and Killian Dane picks up Xavier Woods and he tosses him into Kofi Kingston, who's around the ropes at the time, and that leads to Eric Young being able to hit the wheelbarrow neck breaker. 1, 2, 3. Eric Young beats Kofi Kingston. Big E doing some good work ringside. Eric Young getting better at his gimmick. Kofi Kingston had an in-ring performance of a 64. Eric Young with a 42, and This was a fun match. I enjoyed the way. There's a lot of interference and a lot of schmozz, but it's good storytelling here as you have the New Day and Sanity, just kind of two combustible elements going at it right now. And then I thought it was an interesting idea of pretty much Xavier Woods kind of being used as a weapon to cost Kofi Kingston the matchup here. So it's interesting stuff. I enjoyed it. Good stuff. Plus it's good to see Sanity getting a push here, because when they first debuted they were kind of losing a little bit. So Eric Young's definitely going to get a popularity boost over Kofi Kingston now, which will definitely help them out. Also, Kofi Kingston improving in performance. Good for him. 66 C+, as we see. This was weird. The United States Championship was sitting there, and Nakamura just kind of like rises up from the bottom and starts like stalking it like it's his prey, like he's gonna snatch it up or something. Very strange stuff from Shinsuke Nakamura. Then we also see Jeff Hardy getting ready as the United States Championship match is next. Main event time. Not quite yet. 49 D+ rating as we hype up Becky Lynch versus Carmella for next week's SmackDown alongside the SummerSlam announcement of who will face AJ Styles for the WWE Championship at the pay-per-view. 73 B- as Greg Hamilton does the WWE United States Championship introductions for the challenger Jeff Hardy and new champion Shinsuke Nakamura. And then it's main event time. 74 B-. This is probably the best match these two have had yet. We have a good matchup here. Jeff Hardy goes over Shinsuke Nakamura in 14 minutes, 47 seconds after Shinsuke Nakamura was disqualified when Randy Orton ran in and attacked Jeff Hardy. Hardy was looking like he was about to pick up the victory and win the United States Championship back. And Randy Orton once again coming out here, going after Jeff, taking him out, and I guess costing Nakamura the match, but not the championship because he pretty much cost Jeff the championship here. And this proceeds to lead to a beatdown, which we'll see in the closing angle here in just a moment. This match deserved better announcing. Randy Orton teasing his heel turn, which probably going to pull the trigger here tonight. Jeff Hardy had an in-ring performance of a 64, Nintendo 64. Shinsuke Nakamura had an in-ring performance of a 74, 10 points better than Jeff, gaining heat for the U.S. Championship feud. And then afterwards, we have the beatdown courtesy of Randy Orton onto Jeff Hardy, beating him down, throwing him around the arena, into the steel steps, kicking him in the balls, all sorts of stuff. All the while, Nakamura just kind of looks on in awe, like, what the hell's going on here? So, meanwhile, Randy Orton's just screaming at Jeff, like, you want to know why? You want to know why? Just ask me. And he just doesn't tell us why. So, Randy Orton returns, and he's a heel. This is probably going to go bad, but what can you do? So, I am going to go ahead and make him an intelligent psycho. It just kind of seems like that's Randy Orton's heel gimmick to me. This is probably going to go bad because we've had way too many heel turns, but his gimmick got a rating of great, but it was a complete disaster, which, lovely. That's what you want in your turns. That's the bad downside of a TEW. We got a solid 82 B rating for the show, though, so that's awesome. And we increased our popularity in 29 regions. So it's interesting how our shows like Smackdown and Raw help our popularity out more than the pay-per-views do. It's interesting. Obviously, you can see we're on 205 Live. I fixed up the way the shows are. Yeah, I thought Randy Orton was gonna be pissed. I fixed it so that 205 Live would go on last because that's how it should be. But anyway, that's going to be the end of this video. I hope you guys have enjoyed. If you have, do me a favor. Leave me a comment, like, subscribe if you haven't already. And as always, my name has been OMG, WTF, LOL, FTW, BRB. I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a good one.